Mica.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad we are conducting this hearing. I had the privilege of chairing this subcommittee or its predecessor back 98 to 2000, and I think responsibility for oversight is extremely important. I am dismayed, however, at the systematic dismantling, and we heard we're not even supposed to talk about a war on drugs. When this administration comes in and takes your position, Mr. Kurlikowski, takes it out of the cabinet, to me lessens its importance of visibility. Some of the efforts to promote legalization may be well intended, but they do have consequences. And some of the reduced enforcement, all of this will end up with more young people in particular who look to role models and also look to leadership, believe it or not, and the direction from the highest office of the United States towards their attitudes of drug use and drug abuse. So I think we're headed downhill. I saw some statistics the other day I thought were disturbing. With crime down generally across the country, we still have young people addicted, and was it Mr. Who gave the statistic, Placido, 31,000 deaths. It is by far the worst social and criminal problem that we have in the United States. But the other thing, too, is you have to put, you're talking about putting resources and what's most effective on the international scene, and that is important. I want to talk about that. But aren't most of the drugs still coming into the United States from the Caribbean and South America through the southwest border and Florida? Is that right, Mr. Kurlikowski, Mr. Placido? Is that right, Mr. Placido?
Particularly with cocaine, we estimate now that the interagency estimates about 91% of the cocaine crosses the southwest border, significant amounts of
I was
meth,
down in San
heroin.
Juan and got a briefing by the Coast Guard, and they showed me the charts of the drugs coming out of South America. They traced the planes coming out. They were solid red lines coming still out of there. So it's coming into Florida. It's coming, some of it was going up to Mexico and then transiting in. Were you consulted, Mr. Kurlikowski, or anyone else here, when the administration proposed to cut the Coast Guard positions by 1,100 to mothball 5 recently upgraded helicopters, reducing the Coast Guard's anti-drug operations in Florida, where I just happen to live, and the Caribbean, which we just cited was the main source of these people bringing this crap in, that would dramatically reduce our nation's capability. Were you consulted on these cuts?
No.
Were you consulted? Anyone on the panel? Okay. I was appalled. I'm going to the budget hearing in a few hours and speak about that. I've gone to the Coast Guard hearing, and actually both sides of the aisle were just stunned at the administration's proposal. Furthermore, in the same budget, to cut border protection, fencing technology, and infrastructure by more than, well, it's almost a $250 million, $225 million. Were you consulted, Mr. Kurlikowski, the drug czar, on this?
I wasn't consulted on the fencing, but I do know there are significant concerns about how effective that program has been.
Well, again, our job is to take the resources and make them effective, and I'm looking for that. I'm not here just to criticize you. We want this successful. Those kids are dying in our streets. I can tell you the names of parents I've talked to in the last year that have lost their kid with drug overdoses and drug abuse. Mr. Ambassador Johnson, most of the heroin that's produced in Afghanistan, I haven't been up to the border in a long time, but it used to go to Europe, is still about 90-some% going to Europe of that heroin?
I don't think 90% goes.
Okay, well, just How much?
Almost none of it comes to the United
All right,
States.
all right, that was my point. You said in your statement, I took it down, requires a global effort. Now, I don't think the United States, and I used to be involved in these panels and legislative panels, and you guys listen here, the new members here who haven't been around. We need to get some of our folks into these discussions, again, legislative people who set the policy, and get with the commissioners, get with the European Union and others, because they do have clout. And if we talk to them member to member, interparliamentary discussions, to get the EU to do more, that crap is coming into Europe, and they're suffering. And they should be, how much are they doing as far as programs in Afghanistan? What share are they doing now?
But the Europeans are contributing significantly to ISAF forces, notwithstanding the
No, the
decision.
drugs,
on the-
crop substitutions, others.
Yes, particularly the European Union Commission and the British government, their international.
Yeah, well, I can tell you whatever they're doing, it's peanuts compared to what the United States is doing. They've lost personnel too, and we have lost personnel. But they have a distinct interest in stopping this heroin. And I used to go to those meetings, finally I'm over, guys, and we would sit there and the Europeans would poo-poo us about cocaine. We did such a good job up until most recently of stopping that cocaine from getting into the United States and the price down here, that it's being diverted to Europe because it gets more dollars, right? And now they're transiting, and they have a cocaine problem from South America in Europe. But we need to get more engaged as a subcommittee and committee, and you guys need to get over there. I know this is an election year. Talk to these parliamentarians who make that policy and get them engaged, not only for our benefit, but their benefit, and stop this stuff. And I thank you for letting me go over my time.